Shalom. My name is David, and I've been king over all Israel for the last 40 years. I've been asked to speak something about my life and answer some questions before this camera, and I'm told that other people will be able to watch this and gain knowledge as a result. My life has been an exciting life, full of terrible depths of tragedy and great heights of joy.
So, King David, could you tell us, please, some of your happiest times?
My happiest times. Two times come to mind. The first one, a long time ago, when I was just a boy, when I was a shepherd watching my father's flock at night. I was the youngest of my brothers, and this was the job that went to the youngest, and it was considered a punishment, but I always liked it. I always liked being alone in the mountain meadows and watching the sheep grazing peacefully, and the only thing I had to worry about were driving off the occasional lion or bear, and believe me, that's a lot easier than the things that I had to face afterwards. I remember that time really fondly because shortly afterwards my childhood completely ended suddenly and abruptly when that old prophet Samuel came up to my family and anointed me king against my brothers. The time that I was a shepherd, I had no cares, I had no worries. It was a pure time for me. It was a peaceful time. It was a time of reflection and meditation. And after that, everything became scheming and dishonesty. So I remember that as probably my happiest time. But another time comes to mind as well. This was shortly after I was made king over all of Israel. And I had consolidated all the tribes under my rule, and I had established my capital city in Jerusalem, and there was nobody who could stand against me. But there was one thing lacking. There was one final piece to the puzzle that I had to put in place, and that was bringing the holy Ark of the Covenant of the Lord, the Ark of the Covenant, to bring that covenant into my city and bring that holy object into my control. And finally, after months of finagling and bribing people and threatening people, I was able to get the ark under my control, and I brought it into the Jerusalem. I brought it through the gates of Jerusalem in a festal procession with the priests and the Levites blowing trumpets and my troops marching, and just me. And I wasn't wearing my military clothes. I was just wearing a priestly undergarment and ephod, and I was before the ark, and I was dancing and celebrating before the ark, and the people on either side of me were cheering. And you know, I felt two things at that moment. First of all, I was certainly full of myself. You can't very well be a king without being full of yourself. And I was glad that finally all the different elements of power in ancient Israel were mine. They belonged to me, and I had all the control. But there was something else going on as well, because we Israelites believed that the Lord actually inhabited that gold-covered wooden box, the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord. And so I was actually accompanying Yahweh as I brought him into my city. And that sobered me a bit. That even scared me a bit. And all of a sudden something happened, and I lost my sense of self. And I started dancing ecstatically, spinning around and around, and I even heard some people off to the side, they laughed at me because I was doing something that was so undignified for a king. But for that one moment, and probably the very last of those moments in my entire life, I forgot that I was king, and I was just David, and I was dancing before the Lord. And never again had I experienced that degree of abandon and freedom. But you know, even then, in the back of my mind, I knew that this was not going to hurt me politically one little bit. That instead, the people seeing me in this way, it would make me even more popular.